right, we are live on the T Podcast. We have a great episode for you today. We're going to be talking with Clare Cook, owner of Basin Arts, and Dirk Guidry, owner of Dirk Guidry Art Studios. They have a couple of really great things that are popping off. They just announced their new art space in downtown at 126 South Buchanan. Really cool space there. We're going to be talking about their Bare Walls program. That's a really neat program. All the website that you need as far as information goes, it's in the captions. So if you want to learn more while you're listening or watching, you can do that. The episode is, our studios rather, and the episode, all of it, is sponsored by Optimize GP. Optimize GP is the optimized generator people. So you can power your home with confidence during any outage, and hurricane season is coming up, so outages are probably going to happen. Optimized Generator People specializes in reliable home standby Generac generator solutions. It's a mouthful, but it's Generac generators. Really great stuff. You probably have seen them on people's houses or businesses before. Basically, when your power goes out, within less than 30 seconds, the generator kicks on and you have full power to your house. They have expert service, control your power, control your life, optimizegp.com. Really appreciate them and enjoy the episode.
He doesn't have to look at it.
Yeah, I had to have it memorized. Okay, next up, our sponsor for the podcast, another local sponsor, Chase Group Construction. They take the lead and become your one point of contact for the entire design build process. You've heard me talk about them. They've been a great sponsor for many years. They build stuff, they design it, they build it, they make it look good. They're building some really cool stuff right now. One that I haven't posted about yet, but I'll go ahead and tell you about it if you're listening. So think of you as your special person if you're listening right now. Bunker Labs. Or Bunker Lofts, rather. Labs. I don't know what. Different. Bunker Labs is different. Bunker Lofts is like a man cave type of garage where like it's 1,500 square foot to like 3,000 square foot of space, and you could pull a boat, a car. It has a kitchenette, has a mezzanine, and it's being built right next door to the Wetlands Golf Course. So you're going to want to keep your eye on that. We're going to be posting it hopefully today. So really cool, but they're building that. They designed it and built it. So check out chasegroupconstruction.com. Great local contractor and good friend. And anyway, with that, we're going to get the conversation started. Dirk, Clare, welcome to the T Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I'm so glad we made it.
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys have been wanting to come on for a couple of years now. I know, Clare, I've been trying to get you on for a couple of years. Dirk, you were actually on not that long ago, maybe about 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's all a blur. It flies by so fast. But yeah, feels like yesterday.
Yeah, so go ahead and introduce yourselves. Whoever wants to go first, tell us a little bit about you. Clare, Dirk, I know enough about you, but obviously there's things that I may forget, and there's a ton of people that probably are watching who are these people type of thing. So whoever wants to go first.
You want me to take it?
Take it away.
Okay. So thanks for having us, Ben. My name is Clare Cook. I'm the founder and creative director of Basin Arts. Taking it way back, I grew up in Lafayette. I went to high school here, moved out of Lafayette for about 15 years, out of Louisiana for about 10 years. I was in New York City. My first love and my art form, and still I am a dancer and a choreographer. So that is what brought me out of Louisiana. I worked in New York as a performer, as a choreographer, from all the way to the Broadway stage, and like at that scale to very tiny, basement, underground, hipster, weirdo dance shows, so ran the gamut, and also worked within sort of the arts advocacy, arts administration sector in New York as well. So after 10 years, my husband now, we got married when we were both living in New York, but he was also from Lafayette, Robert Autin. So we came back to Lafayette And now we've been back about 10 years. So total flipping of that timeline now. And upon returning to Lafayette, I was just enamored and inspired by the creative community, sort of re-entering the space as an adult and not as a student.
Yeah.
And so much had changed and evolved, both in the community and with myself. And it felt like just such a rich landscape to continue a creative career. And now 10 years in, I mean, I'm so grateful for the development and the growth of myself as an artist and as a creative and as an arts advocate and leader and administrator. And sort of, I couldn't have imagined all the opportunities and sort of the learning that the last decade would have brought, but I'm so grateful for it. And so, so now my day to day, it kind of runs hour to hour. You have 2 small kids, running Basin Arts, navigating leadership decisions within an organization, running a nonprofit organization, and wearing that administrator hat, but also keeping arts at the center in terms of working with artists, being an artist myself, and, also being a mom. So it's a lot of different moving parts, all of which I'm incredibly grateful for every single day.
All right. I want to dive in a little bit on that, some of the stuff you said, and we'll do that in just a second. Dirk, with the last name like Guidry, it sounds like you're from this area. So go ahead and take it away.
Well, yes, my name is Dirk Guidry. I'm a professional visual artist, and I'm a Bayou Guidry. I'm from Downs Bayou, south of Houma, Galliano.
985?
985 area code. That's right. And I grew up down the Bayou, tight family, support group, everything like that. I moved to Lafayette to go to UL. Seeking animation, actually, just involved in the arts. My mom made it a point. She's like, "You're pretty good at art. You should do something art related." So I'm glad she helped push me. And I hated animation, but I loved painting, and I ended up graduating in painting in 2012 with my BFA. I was seeking my master's, and I ended up having art. I was able to do enough with my art that I was able to make a living off of it. So I started doing those live wedding and event paintings. I was still doing art fairs and gallery shows to show like basically what my BFA thesis was, which was more like large scale abstract expressionism. But I also landed a mural at the old, it used to be the Wyndham Garden Hotel. In the restaurant, I did the mural, and it was my stepping away point to become a full-time artist, which was like a dream.
And now that building is just...
The mural's still there. I can confirm the mural. They want to keep the mural. I don't know what's going to happen to it, but I'm gonna wait to hear from you.
Okay, let's hope I figure out.
But so it was. I took the leap then, and that was almost simultaneously whenever a colleague of mine introduced me to Clare and the space that she was having, because I was definitely in need of studio space. And I'm so glad we were that way. It was around the same time I was getting married to my wife, who's from here. She's from Maurice, Riley Guidry Dupuy. She was a Dupuy, so like my marriage to Basin Arts is around the same time as my marriage to my wife. So it's easy for me to remember.
Dirk was artist resident number 2 at Basin Arts, and thankfully he hasn't left. Yeah. He's grown. His space started as a small space, and then as one artist would move out, he would say, "Hey, could I have that space?" So he only shares space with one other artist because his career has grown, and now he takes most of that particular studio.
I've expanded, and and it's a beautiful timing to where it's like now I'm getting my own space, still connected with Basin, and that's what I think, having that connection and being around the other artists has been a very integral part of my career, as well as helping other artists in that capacity and not being a recluse. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm living the dream, and I have so many cool projects coming up and stuff like that. So. But as you know, we have to wear many different hats,
right?
And the different programs that we run and stuff like that. So, but I love it here. It was never my intention to stay here, but I'm very grateful and glad that we did. And that's where we bunkered down, and that's where our family is. I have 4 kids, the last 2 being twins, and they're quite the handful. So juggling all the things.
The baby of art, so you have like 5.
That's right. The hours are long.
A lot of art and real children circling the Basin Arts ecosystem these days in the best way.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned from down the bayou. My gosh. Okay, please, is it cut off?
Yes. So,
Wow.
yes, cutoff is right there as well. I usually, to make it easy for people, I'm technically from Galliano, but I just say cutoff. Cutoff from the world.
Yeah, right. Well, what's crazy is I have a family member who is also from Cutoff, and we kind of laugh because every time they go to like a family reunion or something, we're like, oh yeah, you're going to nowhere, like you're in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. And it's I've been hearing about it so much more. And probably because of Lifetime, I don't know if y'all know who Gypsy Rose is.
Yes.
Yeah, her family is from that area.
My sister went to school with
Oh,
the
Lord.
cousin. She's cousins with Gypsy. Yeah. So
That situation is wild. And so my wife and I, we're watching the Life After Prison or whatever, Life After Lockup thing, and they show scenes of Cutoff, and I'm like listening to the people, it sounds more Cajun than Lafayette, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
It is.
yeah, I feel that because when people say, oh yeah, Lafayette is like, okay, we're the Cajun heartland, but like, we're not like, there's not a bunch of people walking around speaking Cajun French.
Yeah.
We would hope that, and I think there's a move to try to make that happen. But like, you really want to experience like Cajun French culture, you actually got to go to the smaller municipalities outside of Lafayette, like Church Point. That's a different animal. The Mamou area, Cutoff, those places.
yeah, and they each have their own dialects too.
They
Because
do.
I remember saying a few Cajun French words when I first came to college up here, and they were like, "What are you talking
Yeah.
about?" And I was like, "Oh, I shouldn't say that."
Yeah, there's definitely some uniqueness within each little region for sure.
But yeah, my accent's gone, even though I need a translator when I go back home. Like we were down there for Good Friday with family and friends and stuff like that. And it's the Bayou. It's a special place
It is
in my heart too, and literally. So
Yeah. Claire, so New York, how long were you in New York for?
10 years.
10 years?
Yeah,
Okay.
I went there initially to pursue a graduate degree. So I got my master's of fine arts in dance from New York University's Tisch School of the Arts. So that was sort of my reason for arriving, was to do a 2-year master's program through NYU. And that was really a wonderful opportunity because it planted me right smack dab in the center of the professional dance community in New York City, which is sort of the professional dance hub of dance globally,
Yeah.
So I feel like my professors were, famous choreographers and had written books and fabulous dance critics. And these were just the people that I was learning from. So it really kind of set me up to be right inside of the professional scene there and sort of threading out all of that network. And that's what I did for the first 2 years, among just other freelance work. And then I kind of spent the rest of that time, like I said, working as a performer, as a choreographer. I started my own project-based dance theater company. At the time was called Clare Dance Theater. And that was sort of the last bit of my time in New York, was starting to develop my own choreographic production model. While at the same time, I started getting some really great opportunity choreographing for musical theater, which in the dance world, no one gets paid that much money. But in the modern contemporary, what they called at the time the downtown dance world, you really didn't make any money.
Okay.
But in the musical theater world, it's like a bit more commercial, so you could actually make a decent paycheck working in theater. So that was sort of like I don't say it was only my money job. I loved doing it, but I got a little bit more of an income stream coming through the musical theater realm. And actually, as we were sort of transitioning out of New York City, I probably got like the most high profile job at that time in my career space, which I was working with Susan Stroman, who's like a Tony Award winning Broadway director and choreographer.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that name.
She's, if you have ever heard of The Producers, the
Okay, yeah.
musical, like that's kind of her big, 20 something years ago now, but that was like a huge success story for her. And then she's just opened a new show on Broadway last week, I think. So, excuse me, she's still working. An amazing mentor and person to work under and to watch work. So I had the opportunity to sort of like apprentice with her for a new Broadway show. This was in 2013, called Bullets Over Broadway, which was a Woody Allen film turned musical.
Okay.
And it went to Broadway. And so then fast forward, I was living in upstate New York, sort of approaching our transition back to Louisiana. And I kind of got a call out of the blue from Stro, as everyone who works with her affectionately calls her. And she asked if I would come on and join the national tour and be the choreographer for the national tour of that show, in which case I was going to be restaging and setting the Broadway choreography on a new company of performers. So that is what I was doing as we were like halfway through that tour, as I was transitioning back to live in Lafayette. It's kind of the best of both worlds because I had a steady gig, a steady paycheck. I was living in Lafayette, but still like they were flying me out on the road at least once a week or so to work with dancers, check on the show. So I felt like I had this sort of like crossfade moment where I was keeping up my work with the New York community and sort of keeping up that professionalism in that regard. But I had about a 6 to 7 month period of time where I started to integrate myself back into Lafayette before sort of deciding, okay, am I going to be an artist that lives in one place but just keeps working outside of the community? Or am I going to sort of reroute and come back into this community full time? And so kind of by the end of that tour, once that tour closed, that was when I was like deciding to open Basin Arts.
Okay,
now I do need that water.
No,
all of a sudden. Sorry.
I know,
I told you I didn't want it, but now I'm like, oh wait.
It's all good. Okay, so I might have missed it. You're originally from this area, or is there a specific? Are you originally from Lafayette?
Yeah,
okay.
I was born and raised in Lafayette.
So not from down the bayou.
Nope, just like the 70503. You know.
Yeah. I can tell you have the quintessential Lafayette City accent. It's just it's normal. Like I can tell there's hints of Dirk's a little bit.
Get a few drinks in me, and it'll really come out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what I sound like anymore. Because when I lived in New York, they would say, "Well, you're from the South, you don't have an accent," and then I was like, "Oh gosh, now I'm just self-conscious and like, what should I sound like?" You know? So I don't even know. I just I sound how I sound, I guess.
And it's so weird because like, I don't think I have an accent all the time, but I think I have it more now than I'm in this area. But I grew up in New York, closer to central Louisiana, and it's very twangy in central Louisiana as you go further up to South Arkansas, which I call North Louisiana. Yep. And so my brothers, mainly, I have two other brothers, but mainly one of them is like super country. And like, I don't know if you ever watched King of the Hill, Boomhauer. Yeah. He has you can't understand him. It's kind of like that. And I've been told like, oh, you don't have an accent, but I'm like, I feel like I do. And then when I go to like Florida or even New Orleans, people are like, where are you from? I'm like, we're just from Lafayette. Okay, I can tell. I'm like, oh, dog.
I know.
Yeah. So Claire and even Dirk, I'm noticing a trend here, and this is very, very common in this area. You boomeranged essentially, or did you ever live outside?
No.
So you wanted to boomerang. You were going to be a boomerang.
I was going to go get my MFA, and then my boomerang stopped short.
Yes, the boomer. I feel like right as I was moving back, that was like a Lafayette term that was starting to emerge. So I've heard that. I have heard myself called a boomerang, and I guess that's. Yeah. I am quintessentially, I have boomeranged.
You started a trend.
Yeah, you might have started. It might have been coming from
Claire's going back.
It wasn't just me, but definitely I feel like I remember probably within a year or two before like I was moving home, I don't know who had done this campaign, but maybe it was the Advocate or I don't know who it was, but there was some sort of, it was a digital marketing campaign, and there was like these little video profiles of people who had lived away and then we're moving back, and it was like a few of the people that were friends of mine from Lafayette that were living in New York, and they had moved home, you know, were working for Stellar or something like that. And I remember thinking like, this is a pretty effective campaign. Like it worked, you know. I don't know. I can't remember who was behind it, but it was like starting that conversation of like the return home, you know, the reverse exodus.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm curious. You mentioned Robert Oltan, and my wife actually used to work for him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Years ago, like I say years ago, like she's old. It was like beginning of 2010s, like between 2011 to 2014 or 2015, in that range.
So we It had to have been 2015 because that was the first year that he was working in Lafayette.
Maybe it was. So I'm trying, because I think she left that practice in 2017. We had our kid in 2016, and she left at that point.
Around that time.
So
okay.
yeah, so it was about maybe a year or two that she was with him,
Oh, yeah.
and she liked his like demeanor. She liked, because doctors are a certain type of people. And
they're all one of a kind. I'll say that.
definitely.
Yeah.
And Dr. Otan, she said she liked him, and I think Dr. Ore was another one that she vibed with.
It's very sweet.
Yeah, she liked all the doctors, but like each one had their own personality. They're very strong personalities. Doctors typically are. So for you and Robert, did you guys meet in New York?
We have like the cringiest story in like a cute way. But
I'm down for cringe.
so we have known each other. Turns out we went to the same preschool, elementary school, and high school.
Stop.
Yes. Like, realized this as we started dating later in life, the preschool part of it. But we also ended up growing up in the same neighborhood.
Oh.
And he and his brother were my ride to school in high school before I got my driver's license. But we never dated during any of that time. I mean, I was a year behind him in school and friends with his younger sister, but I was kind of shy, you know, like not the one to. He and like his brother were very like awesome, cool, gregarious. I mean, as you can about imagine if you know him as an adult, you know, like he was just walking in and taking charge, and I was not that personality. And so I was always like, oh, he's so nice, but was just the backseat rider in the car, you know, on the way to school. And anyway, fast forward in college, I was at LSU, he was at UL. We both ended up somehow at the Bulldog.
Of course.
And, you know, fell madly in love. And anyway, so we dated off and on throughout undergrad between Lafayette and Baton Rouge. And then he got into med school. He moved to Shreveport. I got into grad school, moved to New York. So we went our separate ways for probably about as long as we dated separately, different cities, all that good stuff. And then he ended up getting a residency in Brooklyn after he finished med school. And I mean, he knows this story, but I was like, oh, good for you. Cool. I'm just like in my own life now, you know? And so we were both living in the New York area, but not necessarily like hanging out or anything like that. And then after a couple years, we ended up, as the Lafayette people do, they always find each other in any city. And so there was kind of a group of people from Lafayette that would hang out, and he had hosted a gumbo. Of course. As you do, as a Cajun boy in Brooklyn. And what won me over is like, at the time I was well, he's an amazing chef, but also like I was a vegetarian or like a pescatarian at the time, and he knew this, so he made me like a veggie friendly gumbo. Stop. And I was like, oh gosh, okay. And so anyway, so we kind of like slowly started hanging out and seeing each other again, and we kept it pretty quiet from our family just because it's like, all right, this is either going to be like, we're going to take this one all the way home, or we're going to, like, I don't know, hate each other forever or something like that. So, which luckily it worked out. So we ended up getting married like the last year that we were collectively living in New York City. And that was how our story began. So we got married in 2014. And then he finished his residency. He took a fellowship in upstate New York in Albany. So we moved to Albany. But then I sort of I would commute back and forth to my work in New York City. And then at the end of that year is when he accepted a job at Lafayette General, which is now Ochsner. And so that brought us back to Lafayette. So, and frankly, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I was like, you know,
what are you doing, Lafayette?
What am I going to do here? Like, okay, I'm open to it. I'm working hard. I mean, like my apartment in Albany, the Post-it notes all over my walls, like brainstorming, vision planning, scheming, like, because I was just like, I have all these ideas, but I don't really know where I'm, like, what I'm going to find when I get there creatively. So, but I just was open to it and said, okay, I'm going to trust the process. And I think trust the process and lead from my artist heart and know that, like, the right things will kind of unfold. And like I said, I'm so grateful that I did, because now 10 years in, I mean, I had dinner with someone this week who I just met, but they came in from New York and Philly, and they work in the dance industry, and they emailed me and said, hey, I'm traveling through, and I I've heard about Basin Arts and I'd love to hear more about your dance journey. And it's like, okay, this is, that reverse evolution in the best way.
Dude, I love the story. The timing is so weird because I don't know if you knew this, and I know we went to Leadership Lafayette in the same class, but didn't around that time, 2014, 2015-ish, did you have a surprise party coming home?
Yes, I did. Robert threw me a surprise. Would it have been my birthday party or something like that? Oh, you know what it was? It was, I had just, we moved home and then, I lived in Lafayette for like maybe 2 weeks and then I went back to New York for like 2 months because I was putting up that Broadway show.
Okay.
So then when that show opened, then I got to like officially move back to Lafayette, and then I was only traveling like a week at a time, but I had been gone for like 2 or 3 months on the road. So yes, he surprised me with sort of like a officially now you live in Lafayette surprise party. Yeah. Did you come to that party?
I was there.
Oh my God.
Did you eat the veggie gumbo?
No, I mainly stayed around the little finger food area.
Yeah. Oh no,
but
that is such a small world.
That's awesome.
Well, that's where we still live.
Yeah, very, very. Honestly, I know about the area where that happened, like the house. And I passed by and I'm like, I think it's down this road, but I have no clue. Actually, find the house, it was dark.
That was, oh my gosh, thanks for filling that.
Absolutely.
That gap. That's crazy.
Dirk, okay, so we're about to go get my sponsor mentioned here. We're about 26 minutes. We're really vibing right now. You mentioned that your plan was to leave Lafayette, right?
Yes.
Okay, or the South Louisiana area because you're from down the bayou. And
I was going to leave the state.
You were going to leave the state, correct? Yeah. Okay, where were you planning? Like, what was your goals outside of the state? Because everybody has this grandiose idea, like, oh, Louisiana sucks, I'm leaving, and then you didn't. So, like, what happened?
I think for me it was opportunity. Really, I was doing large scale abstract art. There's not much of a market here for that. So I was looking East Coast, West Coast, or like what Claire did, like any hub. And that's what's recommended from us, to where it's like, there's just from a sheer volume number, like there's better opportunity and more likely chances for you to be successful as an artist, much less the common thread. You graduate with a BFA, you go get your MFA, you become a professor somewhere. You need some professor at somewhere in the U.S. to die, and then you become that professor. Like, that's usually how it goes.
Career path right there.
But then it secures your income. You are still around that artist community, and then you could do your work on the side. That's kind of the gist of it. So I was looking at going to particularly Portland or Austin or maybe
the weird places.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
That's where my art would have went. So, and I think that what kept me here is what I fell in love with in this place was just, it was family, it was culture. So like I felt at home here, even though when I moved here, I just had friends that also moved up here, maybe an uncle that might have lived in town or something. However, it was I felt so embraced from the close family ties. It was home. Like the transition was so smooth. The food was better, I'm not gonna lie, up here than it was down on the bayou. No offense to all my bayou peeps.
All right.
But just fell in love with the scene and the culture of it here. So I think that maybe that was a huge reason why I stayed, or it was more difficult for me to jump to the next stone. So that's kind of, that's my story.
Okay, look, I love it. We are about, oh my gosh, we're almost 30 minutes in, and we definitely need to get into some nitty gritty. All right, so
about this backstory stuff.
No, but I love it. I think it establishes for people that are watching that may not know you, your passion for the area, the reasons why you do what you do, and I think it's going to be the perfect segue. Okay, so Music Academy of Acadiana, they are our next sponsor. So speaking of art, if you want to get into music, you can be young, you can be old as dirt, you can learn music, you can improve your voice. As you get older, your voice may not be where you want it to be. You can do the background stuff. You can learn audio production there. Music Academy of Acadiana was founded by Tim Benson, a UL Lafayette Music School graduate. He's also in a emo early 2000s like alternative emo cover band called The Criers. So if you've ever heard of them, they sound like every single song that you remember from the early 2000s, pre-2010, give or take that era, like Good Charlotte, all the punk stuff, you get it. But he founded the school, and it's got over 500 students in and out each month. They have a professional award-winning recording studio there, so if you want to learn music and then progress and then get into making an album, you can do all that there. Check them out, musicacademyacadiana.com. All right, so tell me a little bit about, now we know who you guys are for the most part. Tell me a little bit about what you guys do and where are you guys going, because there's some big news that recently dropped with the spot in downtown area off of South Buchanan. So I want to go ahead and let you guys tell me a little bit about what you have going on, what your businesses do, and where is it going.
Yeah.
Sure. So Basin Arts, we opened our doors in 2016. So we are just now completing our 9th year, starting our 10th year of operation. And we casually but fondly call ourselves a container for creativity. So we're a nonprofit organization, and we really center our work kind of starting from the artist on the inside and the community, like threading out to the community. So looking at how are all of our programs and our programming looking at supporting artists in their creative process. And when we talk about artists, it's not only like a visual artist, it could be a movement artist, dance artist, writer, musician, a lot of our programming centers on dance and visual arts, but really intersects a lot of different disciplines. But thinking about how are we supporting artists in their creative practice and bringing the community sort of inside of that, so that, looking behind the curtain. So how is an artist thinking about their work? How are they making a career happen in Lafayette? How are we finding ways to support them in that? And how are we connecting artists and communities? So that way, as maybe a non-artist or someone who isn't in that practice every day, as the community, you are feeling like you can maybe understand a little bit more about how someone is thinking about an idea, or how something that you think about maybe while you're at the grocery store is actually like relevant and maybe could be expressed through art. So that looks like, we have a visual arts gallery, we have movement classes, we have a lot of artist residencies, so supporting artists to be in process within our space. We even work within the public art sector. So thinking about public art as really honestly the most visible creative process. You're driving down the side of the road and you're seeing an artist, implement a mural or something like that. So really thinking about all the different ways that artists can be a part of our community and how the community can be a part of the creative process. It's kind of what we do in a broad sense. The space, we've been in the same location for 9 years, and
off of Clinton
Street, yeah, right. Like if you know where the Hideaway is, or Festival International's office, like right tucked away behind those businesses. We've been holding it down since day one, and we have just continued to grow out of that space. I mean, like, we are busting at the seams. There is stuff stored in the ceiling, under the floor. We've got so much activity within our space. And so we have grown to the point where we really desire a little bit more square footage to be able to support more visual artists, to have more studio spaces, to have classes and performances for dancers, and for just to be able to invite more people in our space. And a couple years ago, we had a conversation, and we were invited into a conversation with the LPTFA, the Lafayette Public Trust Financing Authority.
That's a lot.
It's a mouthful. And they were kind of doing some strategic development of their campus, which is downtown adjacent. And they had a tech company, and they had a preschool, and they had an event center, and they had some residential. And so they were sort of looking at, I think, an expert had come in and said, "Oh, you really need to bring some creativity into this campus." And maybe that person even walked through this empty warehouse and said, "Oh, like dance or visual arts," and
like a nonprofit art thing.
Kevin Blanchard was the executive director at the time. This was like towards the end of 2023.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, like I think we have one of those, you know? And so he called me up and he said, hey, I want to talk to you about something. And so anyway, we started the conversation and just kind of slowly worked our way through with their board and with the different moving parts of Basin Arts and our board. And it just kind of took our time as to like, okay, what does Basin Arts need? What does the broader arts community need? And how can we all sort of meet and serve that need? And so I think now that we're you know, you can walk in the space and there's sheetrock halfway up the walls, and you can really feel the sense of volume and the sense of space that we're able to be, that's coming our way, which is like, I get goosebumps every time I walk in that building. Now I feel like the fact that Lafayette as a whole, or, you know, like this entity is making a very intentional investment into artists, into artist space, into artist studio space, into creative process. It blows my mind, but it's incredible and so exciting to be able to see this happen finally in real time.
Yeah, it's a very interesting development, because I knew Lafayette was very art centric in its way, but I feel like in the past, you know, I would say 10, 15 years, like since I've been living here, it's like progressed even more. And I feel like the common denominator here is your guys' names. Like, I feel like that's what I hear a lot of. And I'm like, did we have an art community at all before these guys? Like, what did that look like? So, yeah, I mean, Dirk, you might be able to talk a little bit about that. You've been here doing art for a while. So, like, well, how has your company, along with Basin Arts, made the art community better? Like, obviously it's growing. So, like, tell me a little bit about what you guys do.
Yeah, you know, I think that I love that I'm a product of like what Basin Arts was meant to do, in a sense. It gave me a space, a dedicated space that I was investing in myself as an artist, but to go and produce work and collaborate with other artists and just be in the company of other artists. And I mean, it clearly helped my trajectory as an artist and be able to make a living off of my art that I do, along with all just the camaraderie and, you know, the feeling so secure in that space with other artists. And then, you know, the professional development aspect of that, as well as with the ACA and with Lita, who helped me specifically from the business side of things too, you know. And I mean, after all these years of being here, as well as I also sit on the Arts Council for our region to represent on the state level. And, you know, I think that the common thread is that Louisiana and the arts are the biggest asset that Louisiana has. So why not support it and sustain it and leverage it? Because the return on investment in art in general is just, you get so much back for so little. And if you could help keep those artists in town or support them, you know, because most of them have multiple jobs. I mean, I was working 2-3 other jobs before I was able to finally financially take the leap to say, hey, I'm a full-time artist. And I also learned from my father-in-law when I introduced myself to him for the first time. I said, yeah, I'm a painter. And he's like, oh, you paint walls. And I was like, no. So
like,
from there on,
when I would say, hi, I'm a dancer, they would ask me a very different question. And I was like, oh gosh, okay, here we go.
So I'm a professional artist. But, you know, I think that we love art here. We love the music. We love the culture. I mean, that is art. And, you know, I think we take it for granted that a lot of that was just automatically programmed to being like free or very, very cheap in a manner of towards like, yeah, I support art. I go to Art Walk or something to say, but it's like to actually invest intentionally into public art, like put down money toward that, toward education, toward workshops, and like be dedicated. It is so important, because like that's what's going to help your city. Like that's what's going to help the economy, is just the beauty that's within art, you know, and the benefits of art in general too. Like no matter what you do, I'm going to push you to say, hey, you want a good outlet? Go draw something, go paint something, go dance, go move, because like that escape is so wonderful, and anybody could do it, you know, and it only benefits anybody's job too. So, you know, I'm an advocate for the arts, and, you know,
and I think Lafayette, like from our generations of, you know, the way the very small village of Lafayette started all the way to the city. Now, like, we always talk so much about this idea of like ingenuity and entrepreneurialism. And I do feel like that is sort of in the thread of our culture, both in business and arts and culture and all of that. And so I think seeing the way in which the conversation of arts and culture does really connect to economic development it gives us like a way to meet in the middle in terms of the business community and bring the business ideas into art. So something like a Bare Walls program or even just Basin Arts in general. I mean, I spent a lot of time through that Art Spark program through ACA and LEDA. At the time, the Opportunity Machine was still at the Light Center. But, I mean, I was whiteboarding every potential option of how to start this organization and how
there
to think about it.
There wasn't a template for that specifically.
Yeah, and so I think, like, Basin Arts has been really, the foundation of that has really been built on this idea of creativity and entrepreneurism. And how are we thinking about models for that to be sustainable? And, we always think, in any business, any industry, you always think, maybe in the bigger city it would be different. And yeah, it would be different, but
because you have the volume of.
But frankly, like, I think what we're able to do, certainly through Basin Arts and in an arts community in general, the amount of like innovation that happens within this community, you would not be able to think in those ways in a larger market. It would be prohibitive in some ways, cost prohibitive, like transportation, travel, connection. I mean, like the biggest thing for Basin Arts is proximity, artist to artist. So a lot of the programs that come out of the organization, a lot of the relationships that move into the greater city or the state is because artists are working next door to one another, and what are you working on? Oh, wait, I'm working on this. Oh, wait, you should meet this person. Yeah. And, let me introduce you. And
so it's collaboration.
It's collaboration. Yeah. Proximity and collaboration. I mean, those are really like the two cornerstones of what our work is built on.
Yeah.
I feel like this area is big on collaboration, just like everybody's collaborating at some point. It's like...
So and I think in a larger market, that becomes more difficult because here I feel
you would think it'd be easier.
I mean, I guess it depends on what you are gauging as success. But I think like here, the degree of separation from idea to relationship is usually like maybe one or two people. So if you don't know that, if you have an idea and you want to find out more of how to accomplish it, generally you might know somebody who, they work for this company, I'm going to email them, or my person who knows someone, and I mean, before you know it, you're sitting down in a meeting and you're talking about an idea or with a funder or with a, an organization and really kind of bridging those gaps. And I think that's what a smaller market can do quicker, I guess,
Yeah. Okay. So for sake of time, I want to go ahead and read off some of the new project that's happening in downtown. So, of course, the address is 126 South Buchanan. We mentioned LPTFA, which is a mouthful. So it's going to be like you guys had already kind of alluded to. It's a permanent home for you guys. It's going to have gallery space, rehearsal and performance areas, artist studios, flexible workspaces, supporting dance, visual arts, and community programming. Correct me if any of this is wrong, by the way.
It's right on track.
Community engagement. It's going to have creative placemaking initiatives across the campus, public art installations, free events and festivals. It promotes, I guess, long-term strategic planning to keep the space active and inviting. And of course, Dirk, with everything you have going on there, obviously your studio is going to be there. Like it's going to be, you guys are going to be meshed so much. Like then the renderings that I saw that I was provided, and also if you want to look at the renderings, you can go to our website and just scroll down a couple of clicks and it'll be there. At one point, I was like, okay, the renderings look like Basin Arts, but the renderings also look like Dirk's art studio. I was like, what is it? It took me for a second.
Yeah, it's a bit of both. So I'm finally gonna have my own storefront / studio space. It's still gonna be connected with Basin, but you know, instead of you having to walk through a dance class like how it's been,
Right.
You actually get to
Because there's two doors, right? There's one on both sides.
It's
Is that
two
right?
distinct spaces. So yeah, like kind of the evolution of that was when Basin started the conversation with LPTFA about the warehouse space and kind of what that would look like. It's a 10,000 square foot warehouse, and that's a lot of space. I mean, we're working with about 5,000 square feet now, so that's a significant jump up for us. And so we kind of started talking about programming and how to build it out in terms of design. And LPTFA was like, okay, well, we think we want to reserve sort of maybe 1,000 to 1,500 square feet on the other opposite entrance end to have the option to have a second tenant, so make it a little bit more active, 2 tenants, 2 businesses. So I was like, yeah, I love that idea. That's great. And then a couple months later, I was like, so you have any tenants in mind? And they're like, well, we hadn't really. I was like,
I got an idea.
And so, because Dirk was like really looking for that next growth spot, for looking for sort of his storefront and to have a gallery and have his own shop.
And to stop taking other artists' space.
Yeah, so
to give them the opportunity.
It was very organic, but so LPTFA had sort of proposed the idea of having 2 businesses and 2 entrances and 2 shops, so to speak, one larger, one smaller, and then it just really kind of unfolded. And so in the best way. I mean, we're so used to working together. We're so involved in all the programs that we're running collaboratively, both, Dirk and I and our team at Basin Arts. And so I was like, I don't want you to go too far away. Like we still work together,
you need that
proximity.
And
then I think so anyway, it really kind of all came together. So the Dirk Guidry Studios is its own entrance, but the back of it connects to Basin Art, so we sort of have the back end
like
connection.
A shared space between the bathrooms and like the just I guess kitchen area.
There's like kind of a shared area in the back. Yeah,
according to the renderings, your art is in the Basin Arts area too.
I mean, my art's everywhere.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, the art for Basin Arts, the gallery is always evolving. So the renderings kind of just selected some art.
Yeah, it was just for visual purposes.
But the gallery space is almost double. I mean, it's almost triple the amount of space we currently have with Basin Arts. So I mean, it's a lot more opportunities for artists and fun projects too.
Yeah, and I think it really it's Dirk's space and Dirk's business that's progressing into the space that it is, but I think it really shows that idea of progression. So we will have different within the Basin Arts square footage, we'll have different spaces that are shared artist studio spaces like we have now, but you can almost kind of see it. So one area will be for more the price points, and sort of the access point will be for, I don't know if you want to call it emerging. It doesn't really matter where you are in your career, but someone who wants to work at a certain level, and then maybe there's an area that the price point's a little bit more and you get more square footage. So it kind of shows the progression, So we really, it's critical for Basin to build an ecosystem that isn't only, highly seasoned artists or only completely novice artists. I mean, the way that collaboration works is whenever that exchange is happening across the board, so that you have people that are just starting out learning from the people that have been doing it, and then you have the people that are been doing it being inspired by the person that's just starting out, and it's a beautiful thing to witness. So I think having Dirk in the space and having us transition and grow together is super special, makes a ton of sense, and I think it really shows the last decade of our work in the community.
Perfect.
Kind of manifesting out.
Dude, I'm loving it. We're getting close to needing to call it a close. So the last but not least part, Bare Walls. Ever since you guys have started collaborating and being a almost seemingly a duo in the arts scene. You guys have created this thing called Bare Walls, which is an initiative to essentially not have walls that are bare in Lafayette.
Yes.
No bare walls.
That's like the simplest way I can describe it. But there's a model to it. So we were talking before we went live that it's a subscription model for businesses and or residential clients who want to have art in their home or business. So describe Bare Walls for everybody that's watching.
Yeah.
You can take it.
So Bare Walls was created out of the 24-hour Citizen Project pitch. We actually won it as one of the pitches, but we wanted to create a platform to connect local businesses with local artists to basically give them a service that would be turnkey service, and we would rotate art similar to where a museum or a gallery takes art off every 3 months or so, and it would just change the dynamic in their space. But we were seeing that the need for the businesses, they couldn't find the artists, and then the artists were just kind of keeping to themselves in the studio.
Yeah,
That's how artists are.
It was
Yeah.
kind of, we had this conversation at Basin Arts within our first year of opening the organization, and it was an open community conversation, and the title of that night was called Artists, Let's Talk About Money. And it was just like a very open dialogue about all things art and money. And one thing that came out of that conversation for the people that attended, it was a well-attended event, was that there weren't a lot of commercial galleries. There wasn't a huge market. Like, there were a ton of consumers purchasing art in our community at a certain level, price point. And artists were looking to share their work more frequently. And then within the space of Basin, we had been in touch with different businesses. Just as you are running a space, running a business, you talk to other business owners and, oh yeah, I'd love to support the arts, or I'd love to get art for my space, but man, like, I don't know any artists, or I only know Dirk, you know.
And then they go to Hobby Lobby.
And
you
so
know.
we kind of,
Right,
we
Hobby
started,
Lobby.
we both were like, okay, there's something here. And I mean, I think 6 months, we had a standing Wednesday morning meeting, and we would just pour a big cup of coffee and
fine-tune
we'd
it.
sit and like, okay, what about this? What about that? So we just, I mean, we chipped away at the concept.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how could this work in Lafayette? Because there is sort of a cost threshold. Like, people are going to pay probably for this service, but they're not going to pay bazillions of dollars.
Yeah.
And artists are going to buy into this, but also like not for free. And the point of this program was to generate more visibility and dollars for artists so that they could have a more sustainable career. So it kind of just, we chipped away at it. And then now, I mean, the program since 2018, it's taken on a life of its own, and it has become such a resource. So basically, the business or the subscriber pays a monthly fee. We always say kind of like Netflix, you know, and then every 3 months it's turnkey. So Dirk curates all of the spaces. We have a team of art handlers now that collect the work, that install the work, that deinstall the work. We're very stealth, you know, we come in during the business day and change the work over, and pretty quick about it
All of
too.
a sudden, everything looks
Yeah.
different.
It's different, yeah, no matter how old or new the building is. So.
But it's like, from the business side of things, I mean, the feedback has been so positive because it's not a heavy lift for the business, but also every 3 months, it's immediate energy change in your space. It's conversation starters. You're being introduced to new artists.
Yeah, and it's not getting dusty.
Yeah, it's fresh. You know,
Because
that
I know
refresh.
doctors' offices, man, they buy this like super boring looking piece of art. No offense to whoever did it, but it looks very like Hobby Lobby's cheapest, largest canvas, and you're like, what is it? I don't know. It's just a splash with the circle, and like, okay, so it's full of
It's
dust.
there,
Yeah, and I mean, and you know, what the program does is just activates. I mean, it really just activates. And on top of that, like, they know that they're supporting a local artist, so they're putting a face with the artwork. And you know, we curated, our team does it. We have our portfolio. We'll do a consultation with the business and say, what are your needs? How many walls you have? How much artwork do you need for
Very
your space?
personal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like, what's the budget? What kind of work you like? Like, do you want something more traditional? I mean, and that's another beauty of it, is that we have emerging to established. We have modern, contemporary to traditional type work. So we have the entire range of artwork that you would want, and then we can be playful with it too, to where it's just like, hey, you know, we're in one Acadiana right there, Festival International, like, it's themed based on like the pops of colors with festival and stuff like that. So we're able to integrate that into that and just activate the space for it. So, you know, and it has grown significantly and organically too. So, I mean, it just keeps rolling. We now have like a full team of art handlers and admin to handle the back end, as well as like us doing the networking and the curating and everything like that. But, you know, we have over 90 artists with 1,500 different works to choose from. Currently, 230 pieces are up right now.
Wow.
In the space
Yeah, I mean,
in
anywhere
Lafayette.
from the Lafayette Airport to health clinics, and Ochsner, Freetown
Title
Clinic,
companies.
title companies, restaurants. I mean, it really, a few residences as well. So it kind of runs the gamut in terms of the size. Some of the spaces are quite small. Some of them are, 5-story office buildings. But the goal is to bring more art into more public spaces, into more community spaces.
It's local art.
Yep.
It's all local living
Original
artists.
art.
So all of the artists are from this region. They're, living, active artists. And really, like you mentioned Hobby Lobby. And since the program began, we have generated over $150,000 of money directly paid to artists in this program. So every dollar that the program earns, 50% of it is paid back to the artists when they have their work displayed.
Nice.
And so I love that stat because I feel like that is money that was just being left
on the table.
It was being given to Hobby Lobby or to Michael's, or, it just people weren't making, it wasn't like they were spending $10,000 on collecting art. It was just businesses that weren't putting art up, or they just didn't have a source.
Yeah.
So I feel like that number is so substantial because it's showing that there's a lot of art and a lot of artists within our community. These are people that are just working in our region.
They live here,
and
they eat here, they
this
spend money
residual
here.
model, I mean, depending upon the year, some artists, like, they're earning maybe more or less, but like every month you're probably getting certainly enough to continue buying your art supplies, so like it's definitely it allows for sort of this hum underneath the career sustainability for everyone as they're continuing to grow in other forms, but they still remain in charge of their work.
Okay. So a couple questions. How simple or complicated is the pricing, the model of it?
We have a nice little menu. It's a Bear Walls menu. It's little bear, mama bear, papa bear, just the right bear.
All right.
So, and it's if you go over that, it's custom, and it actually unlocks other artwork to where it's like your smallest package, you're limited to say like 8 linear feet. So like the width of the art.
Yeah, it's based upon linear feet. So basically, or square footage now, linear feet. But it doesn't mean like you can only have one wall. Like if we go and you have an office, you have a conference room, a lobby, a bathroom, we can work like, okay, you're going to get 10 linear feet of art, but it doesn't mean we're all going to put it in one line on one wall.
Yeah.
Here's one in the conference room. Here's about, so we really work
tastefully decorated
within your space. And also some businesses might have pieces that they also own. So we want to work in complement with the art or the other, like, decorations that are already in the space.
Yeah. Okay. Are you able to disclose the price, or is that something that is set? Like, what does it look like?
So most of the art is available, and we have QR codes in a lot of the public locations that you could scan it and inquire to purchase.
You mean like
right
the
there.
purchase price or the package price?
Like the membership.
The
subscription.
Yeah, it's online. It's all transparent.
200 is your smallest package.
And 300,
400, 500
plus,
which we call is like the just right bear.
Yeah. Or as corporate would call it, the enterprise model.
There you go.
Yeah, so the lowest entry point is $200 a month, and that's for 8 or 10 linear.
And that's for a business.
Like that. For a business, yeah.
And that could be anywhere from 2 to 6 pieces of work, and then the next tier up. It just depends on what you need. Like, hey, I have a conference room that I need an extra large piece, but then I have a hallway that I need a few smaller pieces. So, our largest project that we have, they have 36 to 40 pieces at the airport.
Yeah.
Like that's how much space.
That's a good client.
Yeah. And I mean, and we love being there. They love having us there. It's
a really
great.
cool platform for the artists too, because people are traveling through the space and oh man, my art's in the airport. It's really exciting.
So with art being on the walls under the subscription, if there's someone visiting the space, or if the business says, hey, I really like this piece, I don't want to lose it. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that there's a QR code or something. Is it near the piece? Is it on the piece?
It's near the
label.
Piece. Because we want you to see who, like, again, we're gallerizing your business space to where we want it to look like a gallery or a museum setting. So it has a label with the information, with the artist, the
name of the piece, the dimensions.
Yeah, and then a QR code that directs you to our website. So it's like, even if you just want to follow that person, like take the QR codes, link it up, you could inquire about purchasing the piece, or even if you're curious, just what's the price of this piece,
Yeah. So every piece, wherever you are, you can scan the QR code and be brought to our website learn more about the artist, learn more about the piece. You can even hit inquire or purchase. If you don't even have to be the subscriber. You could be like, we have a Park Bistro is a restaurant that we're in, and we often get quite a few inquiries because people are having dinner, they're having a glass of wine, they're like, ooh, scan,
Curious.
like I want that piece of art, So some of our purchases are not always from the initial subscriber, but it's just from other people moving through the space.
Yeah. So if somebody buys, let's say there's a piece hanging in a doctor's office, it's $1,000. If somebody buys that, does that $1,000 get split the same way as the membership model, or does that go directly to the artist? Or is there a percent?
70% of every dollar earned from the purchase goes directly to the
Got it.
artist,
Okay.
which is a somewhat traditional consignment agreement for galleries. I mean,
In Lafayette, for sure.
Yeah.
In bigger galleries, it's 50-50, but we have it to where 30% for our
just
commission.
retains
you
for
know.
the
No, and
administrative
I
work.
think
yeah.
that's pretty generous. I mean, 50-50 would be like, okay, I get it, because if I wasn't doing anything, it would just not get bought. And so you guys are facilitating the purchase. But 70%, I mean, it's pretty good. Like if
at the root of it, I mean, we're here to help the artist. Like, we're here to benefit.
Yeah, and we always try to prioritize the sale. So, like, if there is an inquiry about a piece that's up in a space, we will work with the business to say, okay, someone else wants to purchase this piece. Like,
They're like, no, that's my
so
piece
they have
now.
the right of first refusal.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, if you really want to keep it, do you want to make the purchase? But if they say no, we're happy to keep the rotation, then we will try to make the sale for the artist, and then we'll replace a like piece. So that way the purchaser gets the piece, the artist gets paid, and the business gets to keep the display intact,
And you have employees that purchase the pieces. I love it. There's two components that I just love is whenever we send the email out saying like, you've been selected to the artist.
Yeah.
Because they just, they're like, how fast can I drop it off?
Yeah.
They're so excited to be up in the rotations. And then the second part is whenever we're installing in location and you hear the employees just automatically talking and discussing like, oh, well, I like that other piece better. No, I like this piece better.
Oh.
Like it just triggers those
It's a
creative
conversation
thinking.
starter,
it fosters what is the word I'm looking for? Conversation, but there's it's inquisitive, like you
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
Yeah.
Foster curiosity.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
I couldn't
Yes.
help. What am I looking
Yeah,
for?
it's like the more creative modern day water cooler.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. Well, all the website information is on the caption of this. So if you're listening or watching, you can find out more there. Is there anything that we did not mention before we close out? Because those that are watching you can't see, but her daughter's right off the camera for the past 30 minutes. She's been, she's ready to go.
We're going to wrap
She's
this
doing
up.
great, though.
We're momming and arting at the same time today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you guys want to mention before we head out?
I think that we're just thrilled for the growth in every direction. And we hope that, the entire community will continue to start to pay attention, continue to engage with what we're doing, because we support artists, but again, we support the community through art. Yeah. So everyone is engaged, welcome to engage.
And and I think from the community standpoint, there's so many ways you could help the arts, whether that's contributing to like a sponsorship or even just a membership with any of the arts communities that we have. There's art should be accessible, and we're trying to make that accessible for you. So don't be shy. Come on in. Sign up for our newsletters and
support,
stuff.
Create all the things.
And
We're here
even
for you.
If you have an idea, it's like that. I need some artists for, but I can't think of it. Then we could point you in the right direction. So
Love it. Well, guys, I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. Because Claire, I've been trying to get you on for the longest time.
I don't know. We've had some life schedules, man. They've been working against us, but this came together.
Yeah, this came together perfectly, especially with the announcement less than a couple weeks ago about the space in downtown and the expansion and just the growth that you guys are about to see there. It's pretty amazing. Whenever I got the press release, I'm like, oh my God. And I was actually in my studio here. I was like, I'm super close. I'm gonna just
throw a rock.
go over there.
I saw that. I was actually wondering. I was like, does he drive to every site? That's amazing.
I do.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I figured you do, but I didn't
Or
track.
walk, depending on where I'm at.
I didn't track that until I saw
He
our
just
post.
shows up.
I was like, wow.
He has like
that's
all the
amazing.
PPE gear. He just shows up as if he's like an on-site worker.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know I don't want to carry this on too long because I don't want to talk about myself. But I feel like that's what I feel like gives life to what I do is I'm not just going to Google Maps and screenshotting. I've done that before in a pinch. Like if it's something all the way in Youngsville or Burr Bridge and I'm like, it's something super hot. But even then I've realized like, even if every other news station wrote about it, if I go out there and get a on-site shot of it, if there's something to see. Now I've taken pictures of dirt before.
Yeah.
I shared it.
Yeah.
And hey,
The crowds went wild.
Yeah. You decide. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I mean, people have really went crazy over a pile of dirt before. It's happened. I posted a video, literally, of Bucky's dirt work, and it got 1.5 million views.
Yeah.
Dirt.
I could have went draw the Bucky symbol for you in the dirt.
Bucky's, if you need art to sell in your
Bucky's,
call Bear Walls.
straight up.
Yeah.
If you want to really make friends in this community, that would be the thing to do. And do not sell knockoff boudin.
Don't do it.
They're probably going to do it, but don't do it. All right. Well, cool. I'll let you guys get on with your day. It was great having you on, and I hope to see the success. And if there's anything new coming up, I will definitely be ready to hop on it.
Thank you so much
for having us.
It was a blast.
All right. Well, you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next one.
Okay.
Thank you.